Hey there, Hill folk, and welcome back to another episode and welcome back to another episode of Appalachian Intelligence. We are extremely thankful that y'all can join us again for another edition of AI. With you tonight, your hosts, Justin and Ryan. It just so happens to be Lance's anniversary tonight. So,
That's not an excuse.
well, I mean, I can say that, but it's been like 2.5 weeks since we've even recorded an episode. Life has been crazy insane. So let's just recap a little bit on my end in just the last 2.5 weeks. Well, it's been a month since the three of us have sat down and recorded together. In the last 2.5 weeks, we'll hit the high notes first. We'll hit all the positives. So within that time frame, it was my wife's birthday, mine and my wife's anniversary on the same day as your birthday, celebrating the big 4-0.
Oh, yeah.
Happy birthday, buddy.
Thank you.
Then it was Father's Day, right? So a lot of big events going on all at the same time, pretty much within the same week. Well, now on the negative side of all that, my youngest daughter broke her arm. It was nasty, dude. She broke her arm about 2 weeks ago. Well, actually, we were on our way. If you guys listened to the last episode that me and Lance recorded in a hotel room in Harrisonburg, Virginia, with Mike and Brent, we were on our way home from that trip. We were still about 3 hours away. And my dad was keeping our two youngest daughters. And I get a phone call when I was about in Harrisonburg, Virginia. I get a phone call saying, get to our local hospital quick. Riley broke her arm. And I was like, dude, how do you know? Like, how do you know he was like, oh, believe me, it's broke. So we get there. She broke both bones in her forearm. It was shaped like a V. Her arm looked like a horseshoe. You could literally have set a baseball down in her arm and it would have stayed. It was disgusting.
Oh.
But little update on her, as most of you know out there, she has a mitochondrial disorder that makes everything on her just a little bit harder to deal with, harder to heal from, all this and that. But they reset her arm in the ER, no sedation, and she didn't even cry. She's a flipping trooper, son. Put her in a hard splint for a while. Now she's in a full cast, and she's still right there on that boundary of having to possibly need surgery. So throw up prayers that she won't need the surgery and that everything will be okay there. Look at this guy.
Oh, yeah.
It's Lance, everybody. It is Lance. After we just told y'all
it was his anniversary.
He was getting some anniversary loving going on. Here he is. He must have got turned down.
The podcast waits for nothing.
Yes.
Except a quickie.
I have two kids in my house. I only know quickie.
I know. That's why I said it.
Well, guys, Hill folk, look, it's all three of us here together for the first time in a month.
This is great.
First time in a month. This is going to be a blast. I'm so happy right now. My heart is so full. So anyway, Lance, we were just kind of recapping everything that's been going on the last couple of weeks, and I had made it through all the positive stuff and the good stuff, and talked about Riley breaking her arm, and also
that wasn't part of the good stuff.
No, that was the bad. That was the negative side. And then last Friday, my male, he's actually a Malamute. We just called him a Husky because we had a female Husky too, and they look pretty similar. He was a rescue we've had for almost 6 years now. He passed away last Friday. So his name was Miko, and he was a good boy. So
Oh man.
that's been a little rough on the family. He was just like part of the family, loved the kids to death. He followed Riley, the littlest one, everywhere she went, all over the place. So it's been a crazy couple weeks, man. It's been a crazy couple weeks. So that's my end. How y'all been doing?
Oh, well, a little depressed now.
Yeah, I guess so now. Sorry.
You know me, dude. I have been nothing but work and golf.
This sounds like the life.
Ugh, what a life. Can't believe it's
Sounds like the
mine.
life.
I'm kidding, of course. I watch a lot of golf.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Lance, how was your vacation, brother?
Fantastic. A good time was had by all. We spent the day in the Shenandoah Valley National Park on the mountaintops. And I can definitely see why the big feets are able to pop in and out and be very well hidden. Absolutely gorgeous if anybody is heading north or southbound on the world's busiest Interstate 81. Not really.
It feels like it.
It's not the world's busiest. I'm by no means. I know that. I'm kidding, but um, you need to take the 15-minute drive over and get on the Skyline Drive and check out the Shenandoah National Park. I've got some pictures that we took. I'm gonna drop them in the Discord once I get some time, just to kind of show. And they really don't. I showed these boys. They really don't do it justice. Like for us here, where we're at in Appalachia, like where Justin and I are, and where Ryan's from. Like we're up on mountains, and you see valleys and mountains and trees, and so it wasn't one of those things where I was like, I've never seen this before. I mean, obviously, I have. I see it every day. But I guess the topography there, where the mountains aren't quite as high there as they are here, and then the valleys are much more open there than they are here. It's just really cool. Like the Shenandoah Valley is definitely a place I could go live. Me and Haley were talking about that as we were kind of driving up that way. I was like, I could sell out, buy a farm, and live here and be okay with that forever. Like it's gorgeous. I had actually have been in Virginia, have been up and down 81 a million times, and never ever been over to see that. Just something we wanted to do, so we went and did it. It's totally awesome. It was gorgeous. We finished
awesome.
up. We did a few other things. Went to Hershey. Went to Gettysburg. Like it's stuff that's not probably incredibly interesting to the listener. Went to the biblical Broadway production of the story of Moses, which was awesome. But what was really cool was like on the way back, driving southbound of 81, we went and finished our trip by going to the Luray Caverns.
Yes.
Now, the Luray Caverns are the largest cavern system on the eastern seaboard. Okay. This is not Mammoth Caves. This is different. Like caverns and caves are different. These, and then of course, if you've seen that sign a million times, every time you go down next to 464 in the Luray Caverns, come see the stalactite organ play. They've got an organ that's made that vibrates off of the stalactites and stalagmites in the caverns that plays music. It was cool. It wasn't as cool as I thought it was going to do. It was cool. Probably can't do too much vibration there. The whole place coming in. But this cavern system, boys, I'm gonna tell you something else. Can see why Bigfoot can hide forever. Like, and you just never see him. Like I have been in some caverns and done some cavern tours. Enjoyed them. They were cool. This was unlike anything I had ever seen. You start down, like walking in this, like you drive up in this little town, like you're off 81, you kind of go across the hillside, and you're like, this is, I told my wife, I was like, this is going to be a bust. Like, we're going to drive over here. There's going to be some toothless flat-footed Jimbo, but has dug a hole in the ground, and we're gonna go walk in there, and the one his papa used to use to store his moonshine in. He call it a cavern. Like that's what I thought we were going to. But no, it's a national not a national park, but it's nationally recognized. It's national landmark. There you go. It's a national landmark. And it's crazy. Like it's insane, this magnitude and the size of these caverns. They're just again the Shenandoah National Park, essentially down in the valley. So another easy place, like you could go down there and live. Water, no problem. The only thing you would need access to is food, and you could very easily go get that in the rivers and ponds that are around the area. And you could stay there forever, and nobody would ever know you're down there. I got some really crazy pictures of those as well. And I'll tell you what else was interesting is that the dudes that found this were talking like just after the Civil War, 1870s, 80s, 90s, I think, if I remember right. 1874, maybe. I think they first found it. But as they were kind of going through it and mapping it, they had some landmarks that they had given some really interesting names to. Some Greek Roman gods that had names of that certain structures, and there was one place called the Cathedral, in which they used to host dances and balls back in like the early 1900s. People wear masks and come in and do the whole thing. It was very occulty feeling at times, and probably just because of this podcast and the stuff that we talk about. Like I was going through it with my wife, and I was like, "Haley, I'm pretty sure like there's like blood sacrifices going on down here in the 1900s." Like, it just felt like some of the names of stuff. There was one of these things called Pluto's Ghost. So there was a formation in these places called Pluto's Ghost. And it reminded them of the Roman god Pluto, which is the Greek god. Do we know? Off the top of our head, do we know? Pluto is the Greek Roman god Pluto is the Greek god what? I don't know either. That's why I'm asking.
I
don't know.
Look it up real quick. And I'll continue to explain this.
I'm pretty good at Greek and Roman mythology too, and you had to ask me the one flipping.
So it's this formation that they called Pluto's Ghost, and I'm sure you can look it up. I'm sure it's very easily. I'm sure people have obviously there's a lot of people that went through that place on that day. People have put pictures on it, but it reminded me, and this is just
Hades.
Yeah, Hades. Thank you. It reminded me of some of those sculptures and things that you see of fallen angels and the way their wings kind of encapsulate their bodies and kind of cover their faces a little bit. And I'm talking, I'm talking about those old school things.
Yeah.
And as soon as I saw it, I was like, that's interesting. And I thought to myself, right, this is just recency bias for me, right? Because I'm in this world. Have I never had started this, talked to these boys about this stuff, I would have never even seen that, right? So I kind of just, it is what it is. There are 3 different locations in these caverns that you can see different angles of Pluto's Ghost, each one closer and better viewed than the next. So there's a brochure that has like all the landmarks, and it's self-guided, right? And you walk through and it has numbers, and you read about the numbers, and it tells you everything, where they found it, why they named it. It was really cool. It's fantastic. A way to spend 2 hours. But as I got closer and closer to Pluto's Ghost, I was like, I finally got to the 3rd place. I was like, Haley. She's like, what? It's like, that's old God stuck in those rocks right there. She's like, what? It's like, I'm telling you, one of these days, I don't know when it'll happen, but that thing's gonna bust open, and there's gonna be some winged angel come flying out of that. She's, you're so freaking stupid. I'm telling you right now, that's exactly what it looked like.
Dude,
my gosh.
You were literally in the underworld looking at an encapsulated, imprisoned Hades.
Yes. And that's what it felt like.
Freaking awesome.
It was so cool. And like we got done. So we did a lot of cool stuff. We went to Hershey, like a lot of very kid-centered with the exception of Gettysburg. Like that was more for my wife because she's a big Civil War buff. It's cool. I love. I've been there before. It's really cool. But there's much more. Like once I've seen it, all right, I get it. Like here's Pickett's charge. There's Little Round Top. Like yeah, the South should have won. They didn't. Robert E. Lee got a little too greedy, and the Union that's changed the face of the war. I get it. Right. She's much more into that. Everything else is pretty kid centered. We got done. My pimping my oldest one. I was like, "Hey, what was the best part of the trip?" She's like, "Daddy, them caverns were freaking awesome." So even she thought it was really cool too. And it was definitely it's definitely something you need to see. It's one of those things. It's like, hey, it solidified for me 100%, well 99.9%. I put it this way. Now I was already very much a believer, but it won 99.9% solidified to me that Bigfoot is real. Because I mean, you could go down there. I mean, like if there weren't, I don't know how many people went through that day. It was a random Tuesday, and that place was jam packed full of people for the 3 hours we were there. It was just constant stream of people. If it wasn't for the people that were always, I'm sure, always in and out of there, yeah, it would be hard telling what kind of animals you could find in that place and what could live and stay forever. And then there were places we couldn't go. That like there were steps to and chains, like obviously other places in the cavern because they've been exploring and finding stuff that you just couldn't get to, probably a little more dangerous, right? Then or not as easy footing. Those things like wheelchair accessible. There's people rolling through on motorized scooters. Like it's a pretty easy. They've done a good job allowing people to see things. They've obviously only showed you the portions of that's easy to get around, and there are a lot of it in crevices and nooks and crannies. I was like, oh, it's down there. Like, what are they hiding down there? That 100% got Bigfoot. It's definitely a place they could go.
I love that doing this podcast and operating in this weird realm that we're in, that no matter where we go, I mean, literally 2.5 weeks ago, me and Lance were in a hotel room, not very far from where he's talking about right now, not far at all. We were in a hotel room talking to a couple track coaches. Lance is also a track coach, about Bigfoot in the area and the sightings. It's like no matter where we go, the first thing that I do is I start Googling. Okay, let's see some Bigfoot sightings, cryptid sightings, hauntings. What's going on? Like UFO sightings, flaps. What? It's really cool. But y'all know me, and you know my infatuation for these subterranean depths, these caves, these caverns, the underworld, and the old gods that we think were probably here and probably trapped here. I'm pretty sure Lance was pretty close. So we need to call the Newkirks and tell them next time they're trying to contact some subterranean old god entity, they need to go to the Luray Caverns instead of Hellier. Or Somerset, or wherever they did that at. I don't remember where they went.
I'm telling you, whoever people out there listening, it's like you always see those cheesy like homemade signs, right? It's been there from the 70s or whatever, and you're always just kind of like, no. Like, matter of fact, we were there, and this old guy, I mean, he's probably in his late 60s, and he had that middle Virginia accent. You know how they kind of have that Roanoke kind of Richmond accent, which is different than ours. He's like, you know what? Freaking drive by this place a million times my whole life. Never drove over here. Finally decided to make the trip. Should have done this a long time ago.
Yeah. Well, that sounds awesome, man. I'm glad y'all had a good time. It sounds like a blast. It's great. It's great that y'all were able to get away and have a really good time. And that's the thing, guys. Like, yeah, it's been 2.5 weeks since we've recorded. Yeah, it's been a month since the three of us were able to sit down and record, but we are and always will be family first guys. If something's going on with the family or there's an opportunity to spend time with them and make memories, I'm sorry, but we're going to choose that every single time.
Yeah.
Except for Ryan. He's going to choose golf.
Every single time. Guys, I'm consumed.
Hey, that's good.
I am consumed with this game.
You can turn professional someday soon.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go ahead and jump into this thing today. we'll start out. Well, I say we'll start out. We've been doing this for 30 minutes now, but it's been a while. Okay. Hey,
Yeah.
It's been a while since the three of us were able to talk face to face here.
Yeah.
I mean, a group chat it doesn't do it. Just doesn't do it.
No.
So we'll read a 5-star review like we always do. When we get love, we like to show a little love back out. This week's 5-star review comes from Be Kind to Everyone Forever. That's a good message right there, just in the name. Do that. Be kind to everyone.
Yeah.
Forever.
It's free.
It's free. Also, you could just say, don't be a dick.
Yeah.
That's also free.
Unless you're our dick.
Right. And then definitely be a dick.
Yeah. Dick Meadows.
Here's the finest.
So Be Kind to Everyone Forever says, love listening. First of all, I'm a fan of all things weird, spiritual, and paranormal, and love the stories. Heard you guys on the confessionals. I'm from Kentucky, so I'm enjoying hearing stories of the hill folk. Stay weird, my people. So be kind to everyone forever. We really, really, really appreciate that 5-star review. It helps us out tremendously.
I'm very sorry for talking about dicks.
No, we're not.
Thank you. Thank you for the kind words. We appreciate it.
I just meant during him reading her review.
We're still not, though.
All right, fellas. So I think we're due. Everybody else is talking about it. I think this is an opportunity. I think it's actually expected for us to address the elephant in the room here and talk a little bit about this UFO whistleblower, this Las Vegas crash and 911 call from this family. What are your guys' thoughts on this? What are your guys' thoughts on David?
Aliens are real.
Well, yeah, we obviously all agree.
I'm starting to lean more towards Lance's theory of advanced civilizations pre-flood. I'm wondering if they're coming back, man. What if the Ark was the Ark?
It's possible.
We can't find the boat.
It's possible.
Huh?
It's possible. Hey, look, I'm not throwing that. I'm totally on board with that. My question is more, okay, Ryan. We'll do it like this. So David Grush, right? He's an Air Force veteran. He was a 14-year seasoned intelligence officer.
Narc.
Right. As a former or as a Air Force veteran, I can't say former. Once you're in the military, you're always military. You're wearing a shirt right now. But as an Air Force veteran, what are your thoughts on this guy, on him coming forward? Because he was in the Air Force. He was a greatly admired and achieved and has all the medals and all the different credentials that come along with being this decorated Air Force pilot. You know, he goes on, becomes an intelligence officer. He co-leads a UAP task force to where they're investigating all these different UAP sightings, does all this different stuff. But just the managing and him coming forward, what are your thoughts on that? Because we've had a lot of conversations, and I kind of think I know where this is going to go.
Well, first of all, when you sign an NDA, that's supposed to mean something. You know, when you take an oath, that's supposed to mean something. So that sort of speaks towards his character.
Ryan, let me ask this question. This is totally ignorance on my behalf. Is an NDA life encompassing, or does it have a?
Yes.
Okay, that's just totally ignorance. I didn't know.
It even says that, and they read it out loud to you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, according to David Grush, his whole thing with the NDA was that when he found out that information, well, first, two reasons kind of behind him coming forward with this information. Number one, this task force that he was a part of, he was supposed to be like this liaison between what they were discovering, the evidence that they were coming across, and Congress. Well, they were intentionally leaving out all this information and passing on to Congress. What he states, illegally. So what he says is this NDA was signed under illegal pretenses because the whole system was illegal, because the information wasn't going up the chain like it was supposed to be. Number two, he states that because he started digging into this stuff and had this information, that some people were coming after him, and he was in fear for his life, so he made it public. Right?
Yeah.
So on those cases, now I do know this. I know that he surrounded himself with this whole legal team. I know that he has, to me, from the outside looking in, if I'm just a regular normie that's coming across this stuff and I'm seeing it for the first time, I'm looking at it like, okay, this dude got all of his ducks in a row before he came forward with this. Lance, what are your thoughts on this?
So the legal part of that, like I have very little like understanding of that, right? I mean, I've never signed an NDA, and like that's not something I know a lot of stuff about. Now, I do know that as a government official or working towards the military, that he did, and being as seemingly as high ranking and have the credentials and have what appears to be a very unreprobatable background, that you, at face value, he talks and you say to yourself, okay, this guy knows some stuff, he's seen some stuff, and he seems incredibly credible. It didn't appear to me to be like a guy looking for a money grab or looking for a fame grab with this crazy information that he had. He seemed really like just legitimate. It seemed very legitimate to me. And as I watched his interview and read his stuff, which I did extensively when it came out, was that a month ago now, probably? Right? It was the 1st of June, end of May, or it was earlier than that.
It's been about 2-3 weeks. Yeah.
Yeah, we were out of school for sure.
Well, it's been within the last couple weeks because I think it happened after we got back from that track meet, right?
I agree, exactly, right. But before the UFO crash in the West Coast.
Well, see, the UFO crash that happened in Vegas, that happened like the end of May, like May the 31st into June 1st.
But we didn't get any major.
Coincidentally, didn't released.
See. Hang on, that's where I'm going. We didn't see any information about that though till after his interview and after he came out.
Correct.
Oh shit!
Right here, this is where I then began to have some questions.
Yes, let's get into it.
Because he came out with this, and I was like, very, very Bob Lazar-esque, right? Mm-hmm. He was telling us all this stuff, and I was like, man, this is really credible. Like this, I don't think he's just making this up. I think he's probably embellishing some of it because why not? But I think there's a lot of truth to what he's saying. At least he believes it is.
Absolutely.
And I had a couple of problems. One of the major problems I had after I had listened to him talk was that he was telling us information that he had been told.
Right.
There was never any documentation, never any his own eyewitness. Like he was just telling us a story that he'd been told. And we play Password at my house a lot in the mornings when the girls wake up because Bluey does it all the time. Y'all don't know who Bluey is. You kids.
Oh no, I check out some Bluey. I love Bluey. That's a great show.
So it is a great show. It's a great family show.
I don't know
for you people out there it's absolutely fantastic family show. We play Password a lot in the bed, right? So I come up with something and we pass it down the line and we see what the story. Usually, just in that little bit of time, it's not even close because Moxie's still the speech isn't great, so it's not even close. So when he begins to give us third-hand account information, second-hand account information, I'm like, what's getting lost in translation here?
Yeah.
That began to seem less credible to me. And then, coincidentally, like 3 days later, we had all this UFO stuff going on in Vegas that was just getting put out onto mainstream media. And I thought to myself, that wasn't nothing but a psyop.
Yeah. Right.
Well, here's my thing.
This was just them preparing us for whatever. And then,
because people have
right
video
after that, all the Hunter Biden laptop stuff got released. But we didn't talk much about that because we were just talking about a UFO.
Exactly. Well, see, I'm right there with you, Lance. I'm right there with you. And I'll tell you. So our boys, Steve and Kyle, over at the Hollow Sky podcast, they released a multi-part episode, well, a couple episodes, multi-parter, about this whistleblower on 4chan, right? And those of you that don't really know what 4chan is, it's kind of like Reddit, but, it's
dark
just,
web Reddit.
Yeah, it's like dark web Reddit. But 4chan will tell you, everything that you read on here, take as fiction, right? Well, this dude is claiming to be a whistleblower, claiming to be a part of this UFO investigation task force of a shadowy organization, kind of not really associated with the government, but kind of in correlation where they have to give a little bit of information here, just working in tandem with a little. Okay, so this guy starts talking about how the 4chan guy starts talking about all of these UFO crashes and landings and retrievals and how Bob Lazar was correct and how he started talking about the reverse engineering and how there was a base in the Atlantic Ocean where the extraterrestrial, well, the entities, whatever they are, extraterrestrials, I think he may have called them, where they were based out of, and this was a underwater base, and the majority of the UFOs now were drones. And like, he gave a lot of information, a lot of propulsion, how it works. This base was the Bermuda Triangle. Anything that got too close and made an aggressive type of movement, a sharp turn, or this or that, they had weapons that they would see it as a threat and vaporize them. Like, the dude was, and he says that he had, I think, liver cancer, or it was some kind of cancer, and that he only had like a couple months to live. So it was a deathbed confession, according to this guy. And it was one of those things, like, he just put out there a little basis. Hey, this is who I am. This is what I did. And over the course of 2 or 3 days, people were just messaging, asking questions. And he answered them quickly. Like, there was a ton of pages just over the course of 2 or 3 days. So it's not like this guy, was like kind of into this stuff like one of us. And, he gets these hard questions and he goes and researches for a few hours. No, I mean, it was boom, boom, boom. He's answering these questions. So they drop these episodes and I'm listening to this guy and I'm trying to cipher out, do I believe him? Do I not? I mean, is this making sense? Well, then you have David Grush come out just days later, right? And he's saying a lot of the same things. He's saying that, we have these organizations that retrieve these crashed UFOs, that NHI bodies have been found. He doesn't call them extraterrestrial. He doesn't call them ultra terrestrial. He calls them non-human intelligence. Well, that is all encompassing. That could be any flipping thing. That could be extraterrestrial, ultra terrestrial, demons. It could be anything. If you're talking non-human intelligence,
it could be bacteria. I mean,
yeah, it could be bacteria.
I was thinking the same thing.
It could be any animal on the planet. It could be a ship of elephants that just crashed. I mean, it could be. It's all encompassing.
Speaking of elephants, I know, right? Why did I interject?
I don't know.
Start talking about elephants. But I had my daughter ask me this question the other day. Now, that was a very, very good question. And I want you boys to be able to answer it as well. Why do you never see elephants hiding in trees?
Mm,
Hmm.
I don't know. That's a tough one.
And the same reaction to my daughter. It's like, I don't know. I don't have any idea because they're too big. She said, nope. Then why? And she gave me a sneaky little grin and said, because they're so good at it. Proceed.
I'll ask you another elephant question real quick before I continue my thought. What do you get when you mix an elephant and a rhino?
Hell if I know.
Hell if I know.
Oh, I didn't know that either. That just came to me.
That was good. Good job, Ryan. Good job.
All right, dad joke section over for the day. Move on.
All right. So back in it. So anyway, David Grush starts saying a lot of the same things that this 4chan whistleblower is saying, right? A couple of days later, you have this crash in Vegas. You have this, I mean, the police cam, the body cam shows this thing falling out of the sky. You have a ring camera of a place close by that you can hear this whistling and a big loud crash. You have a family that calls 911, reports these 8 to 10 foot beings in their backyard. You have all this different stuff going on in a span of just a few days' time.
Did you all see the couple of YouTube videos where guys went on a deep dive, like who are very good with video, not editing, but
CGI
like,
experts?
Not that one. I'll get that one in a second. But video enhancement, right? Video enhancement, not CGI, video enhancement. And they took the video that the young man had, like where they opened the fence and it's behind.
Yeah.
And they just kept enhancing stuff and enhancing stuff. Like,
you see that little.
It was like 2 o'clock in the morning one time. I was watching one of those, and I went, "Whoo!" I had to put stuff away. Like, it was eerie. What
it reminded me of?
Hey, where's this at?
I think if you'll just type in like YouTube on YouTube, like video enhancement of alien footage from Las Vegas, I would imagine you will find it.
You know what it reminded me of? The movie Signs?
Yeah, it's exactly what it looked like.
When they first see the alien, like where it's showing that, reporter or whatever, or that family in Brazil or whatever, and it shows this thing crossing the door into the street. Yes. That's what it reminded me of. I was like, holy crap.
Because I was looking and I was like, what? I don't see anything. This is a stupid video. Then I was like, oh no. And then once you see it, you can't unsee it.
Yeah. So anyway, you have all these things happening within just a few days' time. And me, y'all know me, I am really excited. And I'm digging deep into everything that comes out. I'm following everything on Twitter. I'm watching all the YouTube videos. Like I'm watching every interview. I'm watching, the kid that made the YouTube channel that saw the thing and made the 911 call. I'm watching his old interview and his account of it. Like I'm diving deep. And then I go back and I rewatch the full interview with David Grush. And the interviewer, I can't remember his name. It happened on News Nation or whatever it is. I mean, that's kind of mainstream media, but it's not exactly, mainstream, whatever.
It's just not mainstream enough. Like that's yeah, right. Exactly. It's just fringe enough.
So here's my thing. Okay, this guy is a whistleblower, correct?
Yep.
Supposed to be. Supposedly a whistleblower. So the interviewer asked him about Roswell. And again, like you said, this guy just has second and third hand information. He's seen a few pictures. He's heard a few stories. This guy asked him about Roswell. And David Grush replies, well, I'm not allowed to talk about that. Full stop. You're a whistleblower, man. If you know things and you're coming forward because you're afraid for your life, because you have all of this stuff that you're saying this is illegal, this is blah, 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 blah. Who told you couldn't say it?
And why are you listening to them and not whoever
And
else
why
you
are,
used to whistleblowing against?
exactly.
Well, it could be that team of lawyers told him not to say it because that shit's true and he can't talk about it.
But here's the thing.
So is those stuff he's saying is not true?
The attorney
Yeah,
general,
he's that's how he's using to get out of his other NDA, right? Saying it was under a lie, false pretenses.
Gotcha. I'm with you.
the
Roswell would not
U.S.,
be, so
but the U.S. Senate listened to 11 hours of testimony from this guy before he ever came forward. 11 hours. The U.S. Attorney General signed off on everything that he said and said, yeah, you can say this. Now, if you're a whistleblower, if you're coming forward with information, why do you have people behind you checking off on what you can and what you can't say, what you can talk about, what you can't talk about, vetting?
Because you're not really a whistleblower.
no.
Here's my
you're
thing.
a pawn in the game.
Here is my thing. Here's my final conclusion on this whole thing. And this is, I may be wrong. I've been wrong a couple times throughout my life. It doesn't happen very often, but it does every now and then. I think this guy is just the newest little shiny, fancy toy that they're throwing out in front of us to add fuel to the fire of the UFO community, right? And
Great.
even more than that, trying to bring, because we're going mainstream with all of this, just days before that, NASA comes together and starts talking all this different stuff. And you can look at this a lot of different ways, because here's the thing. The guy says a lot of things that I believe are totally true. A lot of things. But if you're going to pull a fast one, any good con artist, you're going to throw a whole bunch of truth in there and sprinkle some lies and misinformation and deception all throughout to push whatever agenda or whatever narrative you're wanting to push. Because when it all boils down, when you look at the interview, the guy's not really saying anything that people in the UFO community don't already know. I mean, we know all this stuff. We know there's been crash retrievals. We know there's been bodies found. I mean, Ryan done a 2-part episode covering all of this at Roswell, and that's just one incident. There's incidents that's happened all over the world that make Roswell look like kindergarten. Child's play. I mean, you have incidents that have happened in different countries around the world where these things have landed and people that got close and started dropping dead from radiation. I mean, you've got some things, some accounts that have taken place that are nuts. So here's my whole thing. It's really, really fishy. When I heard the guy say, well, I'm not allowed to speak on that, the whole thing started smelling really, really fishy, and I was not eating Long Johns. Okay.
All right. Sorry, go ahead. Finish.
Morning.
No, I thought you were done.
My final conclusion is just like Lance said. I think it's adding to the psyop. It's adding to the narrative that's being pushed since around 2017, when you had guys like Lou Elizondo coming out, when you have, Tom DeLonge from Blink-182 that is releasing all this information like anybody's going to tell him anything at all.
Yeah.
Now, Bob Lazar, I still kind of believe a lot of what Bob Lazar was saying.
Small things. True. Sorry.
But that's my final conclusion. I think all of this, if you have something happen, 2 weeks prior, and then it just comes out after somebody spreads this information, you have all this stuff going on at one time. It's almost like it's almost like, we saw it through, the Trump and Hillary election. We saw it through COVID. We saw it through well, Trump's entire presidency. We've saw it for the last, I'm gonna say, especially since 2016. It's been like an overflow of just information nonstop that they're just flooding, like they're trying to break our brains. And I think that's where we're at right now. It's just so much at once that now here's the thing. Do I believe that whatever you want to call it, non-human intelligence, do I believe that's real? Absolutely. Do I believe that there have been crash? Absolutely. Do I believe that a lot of the things that we're seeing and what's going on right now are real? Absolutely. But I also believe that this is going to continue to where it becomes just so everyday, ordinary, that when the real thing happens, if it's the real thing or if it's what they put on, or if they use the real thing to do whatever, I don't know the deals these people made. A bunch of flipping satanic pedophiles.
How dare you talk about aliens like that?
Whatever happens in the next, 5, 10, 20 years, whatever, I believe they're pushing it to the point to where we just see it so often that when it does happen, it's just run of the mill. That they're just gearing the mind for what's eventually going to come.
So in
That's
the last
my
two
fault.
in the last 2 weeks, our United States government,
God bless them.
God bless them, they found out
God bless America.
that they undervalued the amount of weaponry that was sent to Ukraine to help them in the fight against the Russians.
Only by $6.2 billion.
They undervalued it by $6.2 billion. And instead of pumping that money back to the taxpayer, they were celebrating the fact that they found the $6.2 billion and went ahead and sent it on over to Ukraine as well. That didn't really make a ton of national news. Just kind of a one-off thing that hit. But it happened right in the midst of all this UFO stuff that was going on as well, where people were more concerned with the CGI videos that are popping up on people's back fences, these potential these aliens, or this guy talking about this UFO NHI operation that's been going on for quite some time, or the body cam footage of the police officers. In the midst of all that as well, you had the Trump classification stuff. You had Joe Biden's classification documents that he potentially have stolen and taken as well. You had a whole bunch of stuff come out about Hunter Biden's laptop, some of the stuff that was on it, which has just been even the edited censor stuff that I had seen has just been appalling. But none of that really made much noise because the mainstream media was talking about UFOs.
Yep.
I told everybody at work, don't watch the left hand. You don't know what the right hand's doing, man.
It's sleight of hand, man.
It's been going on. It's been going on forever, and it's just gotten a whole lot worse. And people are starting to get a little bit wise to it, so they're having to come up with more and more fantastical things to kind of capture our attention.
Yeah.
But here's the thing: like with any good psyop, you have to have a little bit of truth.
Oh, sure.
You have to have enough there that people are going to they're going to bite. And you set the hook. You just set the hook.
I was up till 1, 2, 3 o'clock watching Twitter videos and YouTube videos trying to figure stuff out.
Me too. I was in it.
I knew it was a psyop and was still up watching. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
it's like you can't help it, dude.
Stuff.
It's like a train wreck. You can't take your eyes off of it. And the whole time, especially when you're like us, when you're always looking for, okay, what's really going on here? And you still can't take your eyes away from it because, again, I believe a lot of it is true. But how much fabrication are they putting into this thing? Bye, Lance. Enjoy your anniversary. Okay, now it was time for Lance's anniversary loving.
Yeah.
Go get him, Haley.
He'll be back.
Go get him, Haley. This should only be a couple minutes, folks.
Yeah.
He'll be back.
We probably won't even be finished here. I don't know
Well,
why
no,
I think we can.
I think we can go ahead and kind of start wrapping this thing up because it's super interesting. But, well, first off, most people in our field, in the community that we're in, they've already covered this. They've already given their thoughts. They've already broke it down, step by step. So there's a lot of cool podcasts and YouTube channels and content creators out there. If you want to hear more, if this is totally new to you, somehow, if you're listening to this podcast and this is totally new to you, a quick Google search will take you anywhere you want to go, and you can find out everything about all this. And again, the opinions that we state, we could be totally wrong about all of this. David Grush may be a totally upstanding lover of his country that feels like that Congress and the American people should know exactly what's going on because, according to him, he started knocking on doors and asking questions and started getting turned away when it was his job to investigate fully all of these things. And if that's the case, I'll make a public apology right here and say he's a hero in my book. But when you look at the big picture, when you see everything else that's kind of going on all at the same time, when you hear from former intelligence officers, Tony, our good friend Tony Merkel over at the Confessionals podcast, he interviewed a guy. I listened to the episode today. I can't remember the guy's name, but y'all go check that episode out. This guy thinks a whole lot of this stuff is just loaded malarkey. And he has got the years and the experience and the training in, well, I'll just call it for kind of what it is, in espionage, really, to pretty much break down exactly what's going on right now. And he calls it something like, public mind perception. I don't know, something like that. Y'all just go listen to the episode. The guy is really intelligent. He knows his stuff. But again, I mean, it's just one of those things. Each of us are going to look at this. We're going to have our own opinions on this. Y'all know us. We're just a little more on the what's really going on side of things. And that's with most everything that comes across. First off, I don't trust any form of media. I guess technically we're a form of media, and I don't trust us.
That's because we're a bunch of idiots.
It's because we're idiots. And we just see stuff and then give our opinions on it.
Yeah. We don't know. None of what we say can be proven or disproven for that fact, unless you can disprove it.
Yeah.
Please do.
Absolutely. And we would love to hear y'all's thoughts on it. But just for the whole thing, just looking at it, and trying to look at everything in a large scale, just the big picture. I don't know, man. Again, there's a lot of things that start smelling fishy. Like, first off, just from the get-go, this dude sits down this chair and he's just all happy-go-lucky, and he's just going on like he's on an episode of Leave It to Beaver.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, if you are fearing for your life, if you're getting ready for a years-long intense battle with the shadowy forms of government that have hit me and on every corner, ready to take you and your family out to shut you up about the stuff that you're getting ready to say, I don't think you're just going to be so cheerful. I mean, if it was me, I'd be there straight faced, wringing my hands, looking around. Hey, man, we do got security, right?
Oh, they're all bought and paid for. But yeah, he's probably just a psyop, dude. I mean, but yeah, like you said, sprinkling some truth in there. But Hunter Biden's laptop, Trump's indictment, freaking $6.2 billion worth of weaponry. I'm sure vehicles, aircraft,
and not to mention RFK Jr., Bobby Kennedy Jr. himself on Joe Rogan.
Oh yeah.
Holy crap, dude.
I haven't got to listen to it yet. Don't spoil it.
Well, when you listen to that, my goodness, this dude, I'm not even going to say anything else. I'm not going to say anything else. It was an intense interview. And I'll just say this. I'll say this. From as far back as I can remember and actually following politics, probably around my mid-20s. Up to that point, I didn't give a crap. I mean, I went for a while that I did give a crap in my late 20s and super early 30s. And now I'm back to the point that I don't give a crap because I think it's all theater. So, but I do believe that there are certain people out there that still have a love for the country and the people in the country. And as far back as I can remember, everybody's just wrote this dude off as a quack, as a crazy person. And he's a conspiracy theorist. He's a tinfoil hat wearing anti-vaxxer. He's this, he's that. He is kind of anti-vax, but he's got the stats and the numbers and the research cited and the resources, and he can spit them all off just like that. And he's been in litigation. He's an attorney. He's been in litigation in the courts for environmental stuff and big pharma stuff and these vaccine companies, all this different stuff for years and years and years. And he wins a lot of the time. So can't be too crazy,
man.
But anyway, that's for another day. That's for another day.
Yeah.
We'll wrap this thing up. Again, I know this is something that we probably didn't have to talk about. It's not our usual bag of, we're not covering mainstream news articles or whatever. But everybody's talking about it. If you're in this field, if you enjoy the paranormal and cryptids and UFOs and all this different stuff, if you listen to the stuff that we talk about, you can't help but notice what's going on. You can't help but notice what's being said, and you can't help but have an opinion based on all of it. The only thing that I will say is keep your head on a swivel, constantly be looking for, if the information is so easily accessible, then they probably want you to see it.
Yeah. Keep your head on a swivel and your ass cheeks clenched.
That's
you don't
right.
know which way they're coming from.
As our good buddy Joel Thomas likes to say all the time. Keep your butt cheeks tight. If your butt cheeks ain't getting tight, then you're doing something wrong. Speaking of, we're recording with them dudes in a couple of days. It's going to be a blast.
Nice.
All right, hill folk. Well, thank you guys for tuning in to another fantastic, tantalizing edition of AI. We appreciate you guys so much. Again, we apologize for, we apologize for not putting out the content just because we have an awesome community out there that for some reason enjoy hearing from us. And for that, we're forever grateful. But I'm never going to apologize for being a family man and putting family first. And this podcast still It's not our job. It's a lot of fun. It's fun to be able to come. Now, for those of you, our Patreon supporters, our kinfolk, we love y'all. We so appreciate the support that you give us. And again, why you do it, we have no idea. But we appreciate you. We appreciate all of y'all out there. And we will apologize for this episode having to release a little later than our normal drop date. But life's crazy sometimes. And we're just three ordinary dudes with full-time jobs and big families and a lot of stuff going on all the time. And maybe eventually we'll get a break in the action and we can be a little more consistent.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
I think
But
it
until
was
then,
Gandhi who sang the song, Life Ain't Always Beautiful.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It was absolutely Gandhi.
It was his
right
country
after
western album.
It was right after Abraham Lincoln made the all famous quote, "Don't trust everything you see on the internet."
Yeah.
All right, Hill folk, we love y'all. We'll quit.
Lovin's mean it.
We'll quit ranting and raving here. Y'all know where you can find us. You can check out all and follow all of our socials. Those will be listed in the show notes. You can go over and check out our Patreon if you are so inclined to do so. That's at patreon.com/Appalachian_intelligence. You can send us your stories, or if you want to be interviewed for the show, you can contact us at AppalachianIntelligence@gmail.com. And for those of you out there that have emailed with stories and requests to come on the show, we've been delayed in responding to some of those, but I believe at this point you all have been responded back to. So if you're hearing this and you have made initial contact and it took us a little while to get back, first off, we apologize. Secondly, you should have an email there. And if so, if you're still interested, holler back at us. We'll get you on here. You can go check out our YouTube at Appalachian Intelligence. Our buddy Ryan is getting ready to do a mass video dump on YouTube again.
Yeah.
Again,
he's super this weekend, guys.
He's really busy trying to become a professional golfer.
It's not just that. There's a lot of water breaks. It's nuts.
I'm just kidding, man. I'm just kidding. Everybody knows how we are. We're apologizing for all this stuff that they expect at this point.
Yeah. You got to be used to it.
More importantly, most importantly than anything else, share the show. Share it with everyone you come in contact with. Share it however you're most comfortable sharing it. We appreciate you all. We love you so much. Ryan, I love you, buddy.
Love you, buddy.
And until next time, we'll see y'all later.